Brooklyn got its own community foundation officially in October 1st, 2009. Prior to our conversion to a public charity, we had been a private foundation known as Independence Community Foundation. Looking out at the landscape in Brooklyn in particular, which was our primary geographic focus, we felt, we realized that Brooklyn was very underrepresented in philanthropy. The needs are enormous, and the funding that's available from the private sector often doesn't get to the communities where the need is most. And we felt that sort of taking our experience and expertise as a private foundation, becoming a public charity, a true community foundation, was the right thing to do for Brooklyn, and really try both to connect, obviously, donors with good causes and good groups, but also to capitalize on Brooklyn's new standing in New York, in the world. It's a very different place, and there are a lot more resources there, and we want to mobilize some of those homegrown resources to help in communities throughout the borough. Yes, we do have a particular focus, although I think of the focus not so much by issue area or program area as a sort of overall strategic program that's guided by well-defined values about how to make change in communities. And so we have 5 fields of interest funds. Those are both for donors to give to as well as for grant seekers to apply to. From a sort of issue or program point of view, kind of covers the lot. There's an arts fund, there's a human service fund, there's a community development fund, there's education and youth achievement, and there is a green communities fund. And so we needed some, obviously, organizing principle for our work, and the funds certainly provide that. And they do their mission, each fund, the outcomes, are really oriented towards what are the sort of best practices and models within each of those issue areas that deliver, again, community change or access to the arts or better community development or, probably most importantly, better outcomes in education and youth development for young people in Brooklyn. The values part of it and the strategic part of it, I think, is, for us, trying to think about those funds and strategies, the funds in a strategic way, so that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And we want to do grant making that is fact and research based, that we're both making decisions based on good information, and that the organizations we're funding are using data and research to support their activities and to learn from that data to apply it to improving their program models. We're very interested in groups that are collaborative in nature, that are serious about partnership. We feel very strongly that organizational capacity really matters. The ability to for an organization to function well is driven by both its management and its governance, and so we look very closely at those issues. So in addition to thinking about the grant making in terms of issues or programs, we do also try to think in this broader way about a values-driven strategic direction that can allow the grants to sort of add up to more than the sum of their parts. And then the other thing that we've undertaken most recently is sort of to design more foundation-driven almost strategic initiatives. So we've just put together a collaboration with some great groups in Brooklyn called Brooklyn Greens, which is an environment and weatherization and environmental education initiative covering 3 low-income communities in Brooklyn. And we've put together another major collaborative around science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education for Central Brooklyn Public Schools. Both. We are very proud of our track record in funding social entrepreneurs and startups. We think that, and we know, that some of the organizations that we funded early on have become multi-million-dollar organizations with significant impact in their communities. So we always want to make room for innovative ideas, for creativity, for social entrepreneurs who are energetic and dedicated and have, a real theory behind their program model. So we definitely, are very interested in those startups. We don't fund exclusively startups. We have a lot of long-term relationships with very high-performing grantees. And we, of course, always look to leverage, whether that's with other funders, whether that's using programmatic strength that may already exist in an organization and taking it to the next level, or whether it's around creating collaborations and partnerships that can increase the efficacy of a program or a group's work. So we're very interested in hearing from both the new and the old. We have, absolutely. Fan us on Facebook at Brooklyn Community Foundation, and follow us on Twitter at DoGoodBKLYN is our handle. So we're active users of social media. As a public charity as opposed to a private foundation, that's particularly important for our messaging, for our ability to connect prospective donors with our work. And it's a good way to make sure that we're being transparent and accountable to a broader community. It's not the exclusive tools that we use to do that, of course, but we do think that in general, overall, openness and transparency. We did this as a private foundation. We're certainly doing it as a public charity. How we make decisions, why we make decisions, what we do with the money, how we do it. These are very important facets of building a sustainable institution that's really meaningful in a community, and we take them very seriously. And so not only as the fun and interesting communications tool that social media can be, and its use in marketing and communications, we see it as just another avenue into the foundation where we really work hard to create an open culture, a culture that really encourages interaction. It would be unfair to the Brooklyn Community Foundation for me to identify only one important thing. But I would say that we reinvented ourselves as this new institution, and so I think the very act of doing that was very important, and certainly if you're a Brooklynite or interested in Brooklyn or have roots in Brooklyn, I think the fact that we have created a community foundation that's dedicated to this very large, very populated geography, where, comparatively, Chicago and Cleveland and Boston, I mean, these are all cities that are much smaller than Brooklyn, and they have very robust community foundations serving them. Some communities, smaller than Brooklyn, have multiple community foundations. And we, the important thing is that we're really creating an institution that can serve the borough over the long term, that can gather and grow resources for the incredible work that our not-for-profit partners are doing around Brooklyn, addressing some extremely tough issues, and doing it effectively. And that it's, our goal to really be a catalyst for change. And, that's our mission, is to improve the quality of life in Brooklyn. And that's, of course, multifaceted and complex and all of that, all of that good stuff. But that ultimately, that is the role that we're trying to create for the foundation, to be a catalyst for change in Brooklyn.